Well, hi everybody, welcome to the studio, and today I'm delighted to have here Tony Baulch from Ashdown Solutions. Tony, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for having us.
Now, Tony, you run Ashdown Solutions, an IT support company based here in Sussex. I'm always interested in how people got into what they're doing. So, how did you get to start in Ashdown Solutions?
Okay, so Ashdown Solutions has spun out of my history in corporate IT, having spent 25, 30 years working with large corporates from BT and Texaco through other various companies. Things came to an end and was made redundant, and I needed to go and do something different. I didn't want to go and work back in London, and I didn't want to work for corporates. At the time, I had a look around and decided very much that small businesses weren't being well served. That there were enterprise clients were well looked after with consultancy and things, and there were PC guys fixing computers, but business technology for small businesses just wasn't being looked after, and that was the reason for founding Ashdown Solutions. That I didn't want to work for big corporates, I didn't want to work in London, so small local businesses and actually making a difference to what they do with their technology, not just their computers.
And we've gone through an interesting transition over the past few years, because a lot of technology that used to be just the domain of corporates has now been made accessible at a price point that's accessible to the smaller business. I think.
Yes, technology transformation. I mean, when I think of my early days with BT, and 300 megabytes of storage would take two of us to lift it, and now your iPhone's got a terabyte on it and things like that. But technology itself, the solutions, the software, the platforms, everything's gone from being server based in an office to it's SaaS applications in the cloud, software as a subscription where you just pay your license fee. There's no server to worry about. There's no expensive upfront capital cost. It's just there.
Yeah.
And if you need more, you just go and buy more.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know, I run my own business. I'm basically just me in the business, but yet I have the Office 365 suite. So I've got the same capability in my business as BT, basically.
We love Office 365. It's the things that came before it, Exchange and things are still there as the fundamentals of it. But certainly one of the things we love going around is introducing 365 into businesses that haven't already adopted it, or working with people that already have and going, but it's so much more than OneDrive and SharePoint and Exchange. There's so much in it. The planner, the bookings, the forms, the Power Automate, and all of those kind of technologies that can make a small business look like an enterprise.
Oh, absolutely. I use Power Automate myself, and for sending out reminders. It integrates my Outlook calendar. It means I can send reminder emails out for people just without even thinking about it.
Hugely powerful.
And also for me, it's a complete no-brainer for me, because it gives me the whole of the Office. The Microsoft Office suite as well. I get PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, all the industry standard applications are all right there.
It's interesting. We are seeing more companies looking at things like Google Workplace, and in fact we have some clients on Google Workplace. But it's interesting that many of us, particularly those of us with the grey hair, have grown up with Office and Excel and Word and are much happier in that environment.
Yeah.
But it is about building on that as a foundation and using technology to give that business a boost.
Yeah, and I find it reassuring to know if I'm dealing with corporate clients, I've got the same software suite that they have, so there's no question that what I produce is going to work with them and vice versa.
Yeah, compatibility issues just don't exist.
Yeah. Now, one of the interesting things I noticed that we got your branding up here, and one of the interesting things I see is the Cyber Essentials thing in the corner. So, tell me about Cyber Essentials.
So, Cyber Essentials is something that, again, we've businesses are changing. From selling computers and servers and networks, it's far more moved into security. The risks to business these days have changed dramatically over the last 20 years as the internet and SaaS platforms have moved in. As we used to very much focus on disaster recovery. What would happen when the server went bang or the office went bang. Cyber Essentials is the government way of making small business realise that actually times have changed and the risk to business is not really so much around the disaster, it's more a breach.
It's more about this.
It's more about that. These are absolute horror stories that we work really hard to protect our clients from. we don't want to be getting a phone call from somebody saying, hey, all our computers have got funny messages on and we can't open our files. Cyber Essentials is the government's way of trying to prevent this from happening. And it's actually Cyber Essentials, the initial level, is not a difficult thing to obtain. And it's not expensive. And if you want to move into cyber security insurance, most of them will require the same things that Cyber Essentials has done. So what we try and say to our clients now is that you need to be protected. We need to have layers of security around your business to stop things happening and still have backup should the worst happen. And if we're going to do it, let's do it and get the accreditation. We're seeing far more customers are talking to us now saying we actually have to have accreditation, that their supply chain is requiring it, that they can't bid on contracts for anything local government, health, anything like that, that if they haven't got Cyber Essentials, they won't qualify.
Yeah.
So they need to be doing it.
And I know so many business insurances have cyber, cyber cover in there, but presumably if you haven't taken the steps to actually take care of, do your due diligence.
It's a really scary thing, Jim. We talk to lots of people who go, I don't need to do all these things that you're talking about because I've got some insurance. And we have to break it to them. We actually got a piece of paper, because at that point, if you've not done the steps your insurance broker should have advised you, and the insurance company mandate, you go and make a claim, the first thing they're going to do is ask for some evidence of what you've done. And when you can't produce that evidence, they're going to decline the claim. Well, at that point, you've now got no insurance and you've still been breached. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And again, we don't want people to be in that position. We want to make sure that they've got adequate protection, Cyber Essentials, and a policy from a provider that will pay out.
Oh, definitely, because the whole security thing, it's one of those things that it's something that it seems to me it can so easily go under the radar in all the busyness of just taking care of clients and the everyday life of running a business.
It can be worse than that too, Jim. We've experience of organisations that have become aware they need to do something, be it through an insurance issue or a sub-company requesting information. Recently we had an example that they've spoken to 4 or 5 IT companies, but analysis paralysis, they then didn't do anything. And then they got ransomed. Fortunately, we were able to help them, and it wasn't a particularly severe attack in that respect. But it still cost them 10 days of downtime for 25 people. And we're about saying our job is to stop that happening and prevent you from being affected in that manner.
Yeah.
And ultimately having a plan for getting you back up and running should the worst happen, which it shouldn't.
And it's something I observe in a lot of business owners, getting quite sophisticated. People have been around the business world for a long time, is that the distinction between a cost and an investment is sometimes blurred, and something like looking after your IT and security can look like a cost. Indeed,
it's one of those. How many businesses in this day and age don't recognise that they're actually a technology business?
Yes.
That you might be a company selling roofing product, but if you can't quote because your computer's down, and you can't pick from the warehouse because your computer's down, and you can't load the lorry, if you haven't loaded the lorry, you can't invoice. And if you can't invoice, you can't collect.
Yeah.
So you're not an IT company, you're a roofing company, but you can't work. And a lot of businesses are slowly waking up to that recognition that the technology is critical to what they do. And ultimately, rather than a cost, becomes the business differentiator, that it can make them more efficient and allow them to scale.
Yeah, and the online infrastructure, the web infrastructure, is so easily targeted by what are they called, bad actors.
Indeed. I mean, people say, "Oh, well, we're only a small business; they're not interested in us." And you're right; they're not interested in you at all. It's all they want is your money.
Yeah.
These people are not necessarily targeting your business per se. They're buying a piece of software often off the internet, and they're just setting it going, and they're looking for the vulnerabilities. They find one in your business, and they go, happy days, we've got you. It's your choice now whether you pay them or whether you suffer the pain and go through rebuilding everything.
Yeah.
Surely a little bit of prevention, that small amount of cost, has become a massive investment in protecting the business.
Yeah.
And protecting cash flow. And because we all know cash flow is key to small businesses, how many small businesses can manage with a catastrophic interruption in business?
And I guess the preventative measures range from everything from making sure you're using secure passwords right up to firewalls and backups and all of those things.
I mentioned Cyber Essentials doesn't need to be complex and expensive. And one of the things we do is we walk customers, potential customers, through the steps that are required. And some of them are probably 101, having some basic internet security software installed. It's not unusual to find out that you go to an organisation and yes, we've got that, and then find it's actually been uninstalled because it was doing something that interrupted what they were doing, which is fine. It shouldn't interrupt the business, but there needs to be a workaround. There needs to be a fix. You can't just uninstall it. Simple things. We often come across companies that have been set up by a PC guy who's made them a local administrator so they can install software on their machine.
That sounds like an unwise thing to do.
It is a very unwise thing to do, Jim. Allowing Fred to install a piece of software on his computer is great when he needs to, and we give them a mechanism to do that. But allowing Fred to do it without needing some additional step allows the malware to get in. So he goes to a website that's been compromised. It might be a perfectly legitimate website, but with a bad advert or something being served from it, and miraculously that piece of bad code is now on the machine and running as admin.
Yeah, not helpful. And I can imagine that the proliferation of home working arrangements, it kind of adds an additional level of risk.
Yes, home working's an interesting one. I mean, when COVID first hit, we had a massive acceleration and jumped many years forward into business technology and the working from home. We had a number of places where people can just use their own computers at home and connect in over a VPN. It's like, yeah.
That sounds like a horror story in a minute.
And another horror story. I mean, connecting somebody's unmanaged computer that their kids use for their homework and playing games and downloading things off the internet, LimeWire or whatever, videos. These are all mechanisms that, once they're connected into your business network, can pollute and corrupt. So software applications, websites running that way, or moving wholesale applications into the cloud and having a secure server in the cloud with just a remote desktop session became a very important thing to do to protect that business data and prevent unmanaged devices contaminating.
And my instinct is, I don't know if this is true, but given your history of managing big scale corporate environments, that gives you a bit of a different take on the world.
Oh, very very much, Jim. I mean, my corporate background is very much about risk and security, and that's what we're bringing to the small business environment that we work in. That we are so keen to make sure that we are doing all of the right things for the right reasons. And things, if a guy comes and installs a computer for you, that's brilliant. But if he's left you as the admin, or he's installed a free piece of software rather than a managed one. Cyber Essentials doesn't say you have to have expensive software. It doesn't say you have to have expensive management tools installed. What it says is you have to have a way of validating and verifying that the required actions are being taken, and that's how we do it for our clients. We'll put a managed antivirus on. We can prove that we're doing the update. We can prove we're doing the scans. And if there's something it doesn't like, it tells us. So rather than it just being on a machine standalone, it's reporting back. And that's the difference between just a computer and a device inside a managed network that's being looked after.
Yeah. So I think, because I think a lot of it seems to me, from looking from outside your sector, that a lot of people in the game you're in started off as kind of doing PC maintenance and kind of expanded out into looking after networks and so on. That's a completely different outlook.
Yes, yeah. The problem with the guys that have grown up installing and just building PCs, I mean, we don't build PCs, we buy from Dell or HP or whatever. We buy with their engineering and their background and the ability to get people in should hardware need it, or have spares and things, so not an issue. But yeah, I mean, business security is something that it's often overlooked, and it only becomes a problem when something bad happens, that some malware gets in, some ransom, somebody leaves and they've deleted all their files, and then we find out that, well, actually the backup that you thought was running isn't running because nobody's ever looked, nobody's ever tried to do a restore. Think servers, I mean, we do still have customers with servers on premise, but we actually now back them up locally so we can do fast recovery. we back them up to the cloud, so if we lose the site, we can spin them server up in the cloud in 15 minutes and have them up and running.
Amazing. And you test it.
And we can do quarterly tests.
Yeah.
We can spin it up and then go, go and create a file yesterday or whatever. We'll do the spin it up in the cloud, and you can go, is that file there? Is that CRM record that you updated yesterday? Is it in the backup?
Yeah.
Can you see it in the live system that's now running on somebody else's server?
Yeah. Tony, I think I just switched onto the wrong view. There we are. That's the two of us. Yeah, Tony, thank you so much. Any final thoughts before we close this? We're going to come back and do some more detailed discussions about various aspects of what you do.
I'd just like to say that it's one of those one of the things I enjoy most about my job is going out and meeting potential new customers, discussing their setup, their issues, their requirements, where they are, where they're going, and building a relationship, because our client base has generally been with us for a long time. The business has been going 15 years, over 15 years. Our longest clients have been with us that length of time. Because we've built a relationship, and we just want to get more people on that journey that we can work with them together and grow their business, and that's what we do. So we're going to do some more sessions on some more specific items, but if anybody wants to, we're always up for a coffee.
Yeah, brilliant. And you'll see, let's get on to wide, there we go, you'll see, as you're watching this, you'll see Tony's contact details up above here, so feel free to reach out to Tony, and he'll buy you a coffee. Tony, thank you so much for coming in. It's been really interesting to just talk through some of this stuff, which is so relevant to all of us who run our own businesses. Even though it looks kind of big and scary, actually, if you got someone on board, partnering with someone like you who actually knows what they're talking about, can take so much stress out of the whole thing. So
indeed, I could even throw a tagline in there that is in IT together. We're on a journey and we do it for you.
In IT together.
Thank you, Jim.
Tony, thank you so much. That's it for now. Thanks so much for joining us. Tony, thanks for joining me in the studio. We'll see you again here soon. And we'll see you again here soon. Thanks very much once again. And we'll see you again next time. That's it. Bye for now.